You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 28 for November 12th, 2017. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's November. It's getting a little busy this weekend, a little packed. So yeah. I think this happens every year, and then, the remaining 11 months of the year, you just completely blank out on it.
Yeah. It's been
how's it going for you?
It's been a busy 2 weeks. We've had a hackathon at one of the sister companies I work for. So, yeah, that was interesting. And I've been testing out some other stuff we can talk about later. But yeah, it's been really busy, and I really feel like I need a weekend, maybe a longer weekend even.
Yeah. I know that. My general busyness is podcast stuff, and then anything else that squeezes in there makes me feel one of two things. Feels not overwhelmed, but feels too much busyness when I want to escape from it,
Yeah.
by sitting there with a potato chip bag or whatever, or coffee and television, right? Or I feel productive. And so I'm in a little combination of both right now. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to escape into my world of being lazy. I don't know about you.
More Warcraft.
Huh?
Wow. I've been playing more WoW.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, did they make a new edition?
Well, they're coming out with a new expansion, and they're coming back with vanilla WoW, sort of, maybe a little bit. That was last weekend. They had the BlizzCon. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting new product if they come back with like the vanilla WoW.
I surprisingly got an email, and I didn't really investigate whether it was a spam email or not. I don't think it was, but it was like, hey, person who owns StarCraft 2 or whatever it was, and they had an expansion pack for it, I think. So I marked it as a thing to go investigate to see if there's any truth to that out of curiosity, because I played StarCraft 2 and I got to a certain point.
StarCraft is now free to play, right? The basic yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, not normal StarCraft. I meant StarCraft 2.
Yeah,
right?
StarCraft 2 is now gone free to play. Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. Because I bought it and I have it on like DVDs, and I played through most of it, and I got to a point where it stopped for me, and I stopped. And I
kind of find it annoying because I did pay for, the game.
Yeah.
Just hate that they go free to play.
Yeah, but I mean I bought it a long time ago. We're talking probably more than 5 years ago when the second one came out.
7.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I bought it a while ago, and here's the advantage: if it's free to play, it means it's probably easier to put on my laptop today compared to whatever the thing was coded for and whatever DirectX the thing was coded for 7 years ago. So
it also means you can just put it on your laptop, your work laptop, and have like a LAN party and do some games with your colleagues.
Yeah, see, you don't know my work very well. My work doesn't do fun things like that. We've been doing this. Okay, so one division decided to do this technology summit where I think I had came to this conclusion pretty early on. We have a bunch of developers in the company, and we often kind of don't communalize, right? And there's a few of us that are unicorns or rock stars or whatever it is, and then there's a bunch that are pretty close to that, and we all are solving problems, and we're often not talking to each other, or except for the few of us that are in some kind of leadership mentor role, do we get bothered or
cross-pollination.
Yeah, and there's no cross-pollination, and I'm like, and what ends up happening is they hear about, oh, so-and-so did thing, and they say, oh, where's your source code? And then they go and they don't even just like look at your source code and then copy the bits and then go forward. No, usually they just copy your whole project and then kind of hack at your project until it looks like their thing, and then they put it up. So they copy and modify more than and they do it. It seems like sometimes the patterns are fairly clear. They do it without understanding or care. And this isn't unique to where I work today. This has been this way for 20 some years. So it would be good to have other fellow developers that are all solving problems and are knowledgeable about it, and not just doing a Googleese and find it on Stack Overflow or in some pocket in a corner and copying and pasting a thing in, so I send out a thing, and we had a little technology summit and all this stuff. So I'm going on a long tangent, but the point of it is that we're starting to make some efforts, and I recommended the group who did the technology summit. I said, hey, you should probably play Artemis. It's not only geeky, but it's fun, but it's also good for Team Unity stuff. And you should do that with divisions, playing with each other or against each other, and also, little team units together in their own ships. And they said, oh yeah, great, thank you. And that was, I think, the placating Alan, thank you for your suggestion. We will never do this. So I agree with you. I think having some team play, even if it seems like on the outset it's not actually providing any company value, I think they do. I think they provide team building unity or value, I should say.
Last week, actually quite topical. So last week we had a hackathon at the office in the other place in the Netherlands, not that far away when you look at it worldwide, distances wise. But there were a lot of people there, and all sorts of people. So from support roles to development to all sorts of other things. They came up with all these different ideas, and then we had to vote, and then we had to form groups. So what actually happened was that myself, another colleague that works at the Good office, and another colleague that works at the Good office, and another employee that used to work at the Good office now works in the other office. We teamed up for a project that I came up with, which was basically turning one of the employees, who's like one of the managers for the support part, into an animatronic. So his name, Omatic, came up, and we were able to move his eyebrows and his mouth, turning it upside down, right? And we had made a little pixel bar with 8x32 pixels, and we had messages on there. I tried to do a voice box thing, but turned out that was interfering with some stuff. But that was pretty funny.
Cool. How long did it take to build it?
Well, I started on Thursday morning. That's when I came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And I was already mentally building it. And then around the next day we had it finished, but finished in the way that we did build the backend for it. We didn't actually hook it up to the backend yet. We just hooked it up to a PHP file that just generated always the same strings. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of annoying, but hey. Yeah. It was kind of fun. That part was fun. There is a problem with doing a hackathon with so many different areas of expertise. It's good to mingle those. It's just that some of the ideas are very focused towards a specific part of the company, and we were just three people from our part of the company. So it was it was already oriented towards a specific company. So that was kind of annoying. But I think that there is a value there, mixing those ideas. Yeah. So I think for if you have a problem where some parts of the company are not talking together, that can either help you or really, really make it worse.
I think even to my little rant, I think is a little relevant to this point. There's pockets of expertise and people. I walked in the door with past IT career lives all woven into a larger career life, and doing development was one of those things that I came back to. So when I get into a conversation or I get into a problem, I troubleshoot other things. Like at operating system level or server level or even at a network level, I understand these things because I spent years being one of those engineers. So to that point, we all have our pockets of super little rock star expertise, and they're often just sort of shelved away based on your job role or the lack of your job needing a requirement for those talents to be out in the open. So we often don't know what each other know really well. One of the links on the fun stuff that I have, Biomimicry, gives an example of this.
Yeah. So if you have like a team that does this and you'd rather have them communicate more, I think that a hackathon might help. If you're all at the same part of the company, right? So if you're all like in the same location and you have like 100 people working in that office or something, and you just organize a hackathon. Get some people to spend 1 or 2 days working on a silly little project that might benefit the company or something good might come out of it. But have like a couple of projects, maybe teams of maybe 4 or 5 people, and just build something. And and instead of just I have to define my own stuff all the time.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that's why I was starting to rant about like our technology summit or whatever. I've been sending out sort of Friday emails. It's a real stupid title, but one day I randomly just sent it out to like my team. And I said, food for thought Friday. And then I said, okay, here's a couple links and some stuff you guys should know about. And it wasn't reactive to them or them making mistakes or anything. It was just like, I think what happens is knowledge and the motivation to learn or want to learn dies pretty quickly.
Or share.
And share. And those who are intrigued or had that bone to be intrigued and don't feel overwhelmed yet, is continued along that path, right? It's my nature that I want to continually learn. Everyone's screaming about a new thing in the market. Okay, let's go evaluate whether that's actually valid. That's valid for me. That's not valid for work, right? But then you get people who are excited about resume fodder stuff. Well, I did this new fancy thing at work. See, I have relevance on my resume now. And they go and employ projects with fancy new things that don't need to be, and then cause nothing but more problems. And then they go and jump ship, and then they leave the company with this messy, badly implemented version of a thing that, whatever, and then it becomes a problem. So to kind of narrow and guide the impulse to understand, I was just starting to send out some emails and stuff like that. And I think that technology summit from the other divisions also part of this kind of thing. So, well, the company is easing in a very slow direction. Maybe one day there'll be a hackathon, but there's very unlikely it's ever going to happen, at least where I work today.
Well, can't you just organize one? Just do one.
Well, yes and no. So my boss has given me the open module, at least in our division, to say, hey, you've whined and complained about we should have like a user group internally. Go for it. I will support you. Go talk to the right people and try to spearhead it. Right. But now I got to have the time to go spearhead it. But I think me going ahead and doing that and pushing for it becomes 2 problems. It becomes Alan's being noisy about a thing. I don't have time to listen to him. He's annoyance. I don't want to talk to the guy. Or it becomes great, fantastic. We'll get it together. No one's arguing this. You've vocalized it in the right manner, which you've gotten the sell. Great. Oh, what do you mean you want to take company time, a 2-hour lunch or something, or a day for all the developers? That's going to shut down all our urgent impulses to create new things, right? And you get into a different business conflict. Instead of them seeing the value, they want to see the obstacle. So
you can always try to, instead of you trying to convince them that it's their idea.
Right. Yeah. So I think
if you drop lots of hints and maybe put some flyers somewhere and places they might find it,
I think part of the side effort of what I was doing there, which was the go ahead and send out an email to a couple people, and then some other people from other departments saying, hey, my neighbor in this location is getting an email from you. Can I get in on that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay. And so I did that. And then, and then my boss is like, oh yeah, 2 more people that are in our division that probably, I want you to give them this email too. And I'm like, okay. And so, maybe it's a little more than a couple dozen people that this is being sent out to. And I know other people that
at least
could deserve
one
it.
Thing, right?
Yeah, but then what ends up happening is they get into a larger conversation piece about, well, please go dive deep on insert this topic. And then, you really need a workshop for that. You can't just solve this very easily in one email, right? Once every Friday. So,
then it's another job, right?
Right.
Instead of just trying to help other people.
Yeah, and I mentioned this to somebody. I said, yeah, I've been doing this thing. It just sort of happened, and I clearly have created a new problem for myself.
Well, that's what I thought last Thursday when I did the hackathon thing. I was like, uh-oh, what did I do?
Yeah, but I will tell you, though, I will tell you there is some value in doing that. Yes, it creates another load for you, but if you can get it to be a value and a tradition that people accept in the company.
Well, I didn't organize the hackathon, right? So I didn't organize that. I was just there, and I thought of a project that was probably too big.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I meant with a bigger problem for myself.
God, yeah, I understand now. So while I was ranting, I went ahead, and I think this is the correct video. There's a guy named Daniel Pink. You've heard of TED Talks, right?
Yeah.
So there was, I don't know if there still is, there was a group called RSA, and RSA was doing animations of these lectures in kind of interesting ways. And this guy, Daniel Pink, had a bunch of them that were animated by that group. And Polymatic.link/CO. I think this is the one, but this one talks about like why ideas matter or what motivates us. And if this is the correct video, it will eventually start talking about the company called Atlassian.
Oh, yeah, I know the company.
Yeah, and Atlassian would have, and again, I'm paraphrasing from a memory of watching this video only a few times in my life, where he's paraphrasing about a thing that Atlassian does or used to do, where they had they would section off time in the company like every fiscal quarter and let all the developers and managers and team, all those people come together and team up however they want and go work on for 48 hours a new idea.
Yeah.
A new idea, something that they could fix or improve, whatever they want that is obviously clearly has some relevance to the company, and bring it back and then insert why certain new products show up. Just like we've heard about this, the 20% that used to exist at Google, that's where Gmail came from. That's where Google Plus came from. That's where a lot of like new things come from. And also why things improve, right? If you use the machine to navigate how things get done, a lot of good stuff always falls away off to the side. And developers are never happy for being a gear. Yeah. They want to be a part that actively contributes good ideas that they invest all their day and time on. So anyhow, I thought it's an old video, but I thought if it's the correct one, I think this is probably relevant to the conversation.
Okay.
So sorry, I didn't mean to dominate your bit. I go through it differently. I wish we had sort of more active integration to like what you were talking about, which is having a hackathon or something like that. I don't know if I certainly would help sponsor it, support it, lead it. Yeah. Give more than my 2 cents to get it in the right direction, knowing what it probably should be. So, without a doubt, I'm in support of that. I think where I work currently, our technology summit internally is probably the best effort, right? They sectioned off a few hours of time every fiscal quarter, and I think they're planning for another thing. Now, I'm in a different division. I am not a part of it. I certainly haven't been invited to it. But they went from having a closed circuit one a few months ago to like almost 3 months ago, 2.5, maybe 3 months ago, having one where they started opening it up to the other divisions. And that's where I was invited.
Yeah.
And so that's good. I think that's awesome. I think it's a positive thing forward for more than one person having the same feeling or idea. And I think all companies should do things like this. They should make sure that the developers all have a friendly rapport with each other and also know who can help them so that they solve problems quicker, faster, and more importantly, are ninjas, right? They're good at they're skilled at what they do instead of just being spaghetti coders or painting by splatter painters, right? Where I've mentioned this before, where people just, I'm sure you've met them or have worked with people like this, where they just keep kind of throwing stuff at the wall, Googling away until they find some solution and keep copying and pasting it in until it looks like what they think it should look like. And instead of actually knowing what they just did. That's pretty surprising. That's been my experience over 20 years, that you find lots of educated people but don't actually have those enough skills. And so I think if a company wants to retain people, they should be in the business of making them better coders, and that, I think, in turn will provide a lot of loyalty from those developers.
Well, training and entertaining, right?
Yeah, I think training, but not training.
Entertraining.
Enter-training?
Yeah.
Enter-training.
Training and entertaining.
Together. Yeah, I understand. I will tell you, though, I've worked at companies that said, oh, well, if you want to go back to school on a certain topic and you get above a B plus certain range, blah blah blah, we'll pay for it, right? And instead of having ownership over that, they defer it and give you an encouragement that they'll pay for it, right? And which means no, not on our time, on your time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic, but what's the reality? You're going to let those employees actually find the time, and most companies don't do that.
Well, we have an employee who's working on training for Symphony. We eventually decided, maybe it's just better if you do a training. There's an online training course thing for Symphony, and it just we found it, and we're letting him do it, and he's learning a lot out of just that, and that makes his work time a little bit more, a little bit better. I think that it's very valuable for him, and it's very valuable for us because we get better code out of it, and that's why he's doing it on work time. He's taking 2 hours on Monday and on Friday. Yeah, both times, and he's just doing the course, and it's his work.
Yeah, see, and that's the key thing, is getting companies who will allow that in the work time, not on, like outside of work time. Well, I will say, though, because of the Technology Summit at work, they're like, whoa, hey, look, we have access to some Pluralsight accounts. You go, want one? Let us know. Right, and they're paying for that, which is a good thing. And Pluralsight is a I had it early on, a number of years ago, more than 5 years ago. And I just didn't find the time for 60 hours to sit there and watch stuff.
Well, I'm going to go get the ctrl-paint thing in December. Ctrl-paint is a training site for art, basically.
Okay.
For doing painting in Photoshop and in other programs. Okay. But I've been doing a lot of artwork myself, of course, over the years, but I never had any training in it because and I'm fascinated by the people that do really cool paintings and know how to do all the lighting and things. Right. And basically what I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing with development, is divide it up into pieces, do the thing here, do the lines, do the thing, and they just, splotch some paint on there and do some lines over it. And I'm like, dude, why? How? I want to steal their brain.
Yeah, well, so two side comments, and hopefully not tangents. So you like you remember Dan, right? And then there's another guy. This guy Simon comes. He's here in the studio here for like a week once a year because of Otakon. At the very least, Dan had said to me one time, and I think he said it to somebody else without realizing I was in the room. Or I heard him. But he said, it's like, oh yeah, man, like one time I stayed and I was watching Alan edit and I was fascinating. I was like, I learned stuff just by hanging over his shoulder. And I was just like,
well, that's what you can get with like the streams, right? So there's lots of artists that do streams.
Yeah.
Some artists are not really into the explaining how they're doing it. So I know some of the tricks. I know some of the ways to do certain shadings and things, and I know that. But I've been drawing since like 2002. No, 2000 about that thereabouts. And just because I can do the tricks and I can do the figures and I can figure out how the human body works, kind of. I'm doing okay with the amount of followers and stuff.
Right.
I just thought I could be better.
Right.
So I have lots of days left in the year, days off, and I might go take off the last 2 weeks of the year just to focus on that.
Focus on that, yeah.
Get the classes done.
I will tell you, and I can't imagine it's unique to me, but I hit a level of. I've hit some areas of mastery on the kind of stuff that I do. So when people, come and ask for a feature. And, a director or a VP thinks it's real easy because they just imagined it in their head in 2 seconds. Or they cultivate it to an idea very quickly. And then they come to you and say, I need you to work on this right now, this second, because I have this impulse where it's going to be a really great reinforcing thing for our sales. And then your boss says, no, that's going to take a lot more time than you realize. And when you give it to a developer who can go do that, execute it on fast, what you do is you execute it, you get it done and accomplish it, but you also reinforce a bad behavior, because someone who's at a mastery level can go ahead and you just sort of knee-jerk impulse a result very quickly and where you get to someone with less experience or less skills, it's going to take them months, right?
Yeah.
These things happen. And so when you hit a certain level of like the areas of mastery, and this goes to my point about like Pluralsight, is I was like looking at the course where I was like, okay, I got one of two issues in my head. My issue is my impulse says, I understand all the foundational understanding of this new thing. These first 35 hours out of the 40, I just really want to jump to the 40 at that last 5 in the, in that last little block. And then you go do that, and then you lose all the referential building they have. And then you realize, well, you got to take the journey, even if you are going to dismiss most of what you're doing. And then then I'm going to miss something. And then it becomes kind of my point a battle in my head.
That's kind of the point where I'm going to do that, is because I could spend another year doing, my tricks. Yeah. Or I could go back to scratch, back to the beginning, see the entire thing, go do their little thing that they do, learn from that, and instead of spending hours and hours and hours in the evening streaming my stupid drawings, I could spend some time learning those skills and just take a week, just blow through all those courses, and have it, right, instead of taking another year or maybe 2, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 10 years to get there.
Slowly get there. Yeah. I understand that. And so that was the kind of thing, like I say, with like Pluralsight, is I would go through that battle and I'm like, you know what? The easiest way for me to start learning is to start diving in and finding a good reason, a reasonable, like a relevant reason to start a project and go do it. Now, obviously, art is a lot different, but like I'm referring to like programming things, right? So I'm making some which is slowing me down, but that's okay. I am forcing some better accomplishment or better revision of the kinds of things I was doing with the OGN site.
Yeah.
I'm making it better, and I'm making decisions, and then I decide, you know what? Instead of me using the version of this, I'm going to use the new version where I know they broke lots of stuff intentionally.
Yeah.
And then go learn those little pockets of things, which will benefit me at work eventually. But I find that I can get through that through small pockets of irritation much quicker than me trying to section off 40 hours of my life to watch some videos.
Yeah.
And again, that I know this is like doesn't is a one-to-one comparison to like, art or
Well, I can understand
photography.
There's like other trainings too. Like for example, the guy at work does he's doing the symphony projects. So he's going through that, and he's learning about all the different. I think he was doing some sort of something with sea animals and categorizing them, and it's a really silly thing, but he was even laughing during it, so that I think it must be good.
Yeah, if
I have no idea.
Something out of it, yeah.
Anyway, the control-paint thing, I just made a short link out of it, and it's actually quite topical. Control-paint is on Polymatic.media/CP. Isn't that like control?
Isn't that perfect?
Paint. Great. Okay.
That's perfect.
Well, there's that. I'm gonna do that at the end of the year just to learn.
Got ya. That's the video, the training stuff is what you were talking about. Fantastic.
Okay. I got some new stuff.
Okay.
I've been playing with Day One. It's a logging thing. To log your day, what you did, maybe put some photos in there and stuff. Basically just a logbook of the things you did. I've been noticing that if you did something at the beginning of the year, by now you've forgotten it, or maybe the details of it, and having a way to go back and just remember your thoughts is kind of handy. So I'm not one to write down on paper. But doing it on an app or in your phone or something. And the cool thing is you can also encrypt your logs, so they're end-to-end encrypted. So only on your phone or on your PC is it actually readable because you have the key for it. That's a good one. So yeah, I've been playing with that and I kind of like it. It's hard to keep the discipline to do it because sometimes you forget. And they know, so they ask you if you want to put a reminder in there, so that you can log whenever you at a certain time of day and stuff like that. So that's good.
Yeah,
I like it.
For me, Taku's Life, that podcast was sort of something that's just a highlight from the week, right?
Oh yeah.
Whatever it might be, and originally it was meant, without going on a tangent, was meant to be a lot more than it is. It just turned into be a thought, right? And the thing is, every once in a while I'll look back and like, what topics did I cover so I don't duplicate anything? And I go back and go, oh, what the hell was that about? And I go, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I just I do this even at work where I will build lots of little micro things or apps or whatever, or solve lots of little problems, and we come back and we do our scrum and go, okay, good. So we got these following things, we got to go do that. Yeah, I took care of that on Thanksgiving Day, like all 25 of those. And like, oh, and one day, it's because none of you are bothering me. I just went and built those 25 things. And like, oh, okay, we knock them all off. I would forget because you ask me 3 months later, I will forget that I did that. But if you go look in the source control and you go, oh, Alan made all these commits. There's just lots of stuff like you just go, you knock off the small problem or the big problem, and then you move on.
Do you guys use Git?
We don't. I tried leading them in this direction, and they just argued to their hilt. They were doing something worse for a source control system before. So someone forcibly put some SVN in place, and again, it becomes the people that get the final say. Not always are the most up to date on the process or want to be or have the time to be. I think it's more of the latter. Don't have the time to be. And so whatever final decision they make is the final decision. Whether it's probably the most modern or more correct decision, they go back to a comfort impulse of something they know about. Mm-hmm. And so that's what ends up sometimes in your company, why decisions get made, not for the greatest reasons, but for a reason, right? Yeah. Sadly,
if you look at something like Gource, Gource, you can run that on your SVN. And make a video out of the commits, so you can see the other people flying around doing all the commits neat. And stuff. Yeah, we did that for some of our code. It's like you see John flying all over the place.
Yeah, I am the. Did you say Gource?
Gource.
Oh,
Gource.
Okay. RCE. Got it.
Gource.io. I'll make a shortener link out of that.
Okay.
Polymatic link / CQ.
Okay, CQ. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll have to check that out out of curiosity. Yeah, it depends on the project, but most of the time, if you look at the system as a whole, I'm usually the one, depending on the project, of course.
That's also a good way to see what was going on at the time, right? Because you can actually going through all the logs of all the commits is not going to help you, but seeing that in certain parts of the year it's really busy and there's lots of commits, you know that there's something happening there, so you can more easily zoom in on what's actually going on.
Yeah, I'm usually Lately, I've been more or less the release manager. So every time I see there's commits, I go back to the source control and I look at what the hell was, what the differences are, why, to make sure they're not in conflict before I do the build. And we manually don't let it do continuous on purpose. And then I'll do the build. Make sure the build, just let it run in a tab and I go back to other things. Then see that it was clean. Then we release it. Right, to a stage, and then we check it, right? And, I'm the one who usually has the most knowledge of what is in what position, what plays, what kind of runway we got for actual direct-to release, those kinds of things, because I'm the one who's in the middle of orchestrating all the activity, forward. So, that's the only reason, and I don't look at, they made lots of commits. If I see someone makes 8 single file commits, I'm like, why didn't you just make one big commit?
Well,
once.
I can understand why somebody would do multiple commits. Either you're being switched off to a different project all the time, that might happen, or somebody might just be, I really want to have this file stored for now.
Right.
And with Git, it's a lot easier to do all that stuff.
You can do a local
but
before
SVN tries to redo all the different steps and all different things. Git's a lot smarter with that.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm always concerned about, and that I kind of warn people, so I give them techniques so they don't do this, is people get into merge problems, right? Yeah. And then they don't understand how to deal with the merge, and then they don't know who should be the most dominant, and then they say, well, I'm going to be the dominant thing, and they roll back a lot of junk, right? And when you build a complex system, sometimes you have database-related stuff to code and code stuff related to database things. And, the having to orchestrate all these things, you can't just sort of randomly kibosh someone's code. Yeah. I worked at a place where I was a contractor with 20 other developers on one project, one app, and they did all the time. People would just overwrite other people's junk all the time. And the continuous integration server would just be upset all the time. And that's the one thing when you start building stuff as a team, you're all working on the same files, that you gotta be smart and knowledgeable how merges work. And anyhow, we're getting into a long tangent.
Yep. So you had I have some other stuff I want to talk about that I bought and stuff. But you had some new headphones in, I heard.
Yeah, so, I'm not going to let you hit your joke. They're called the Jaybird Run.
Runs is what you want. Alan got the runs.
So they're Bluetooth wireless headset. So let's talk about the X3s. The X3s are, these very lightweight headsets that are about $130 US. Might be less now because they're already a year old. The Jaybird X3s I think are fantastic, and they're just like they're earbuds, but they have a wire that dangles between them that has a little node on it that is your player control, volume control, your on off, and the little dock contacts for charging the thing. And the audio on these things is fantastic. The range on these things is fantastic. At work, I could walk a good 60, 70 feet away without any disruption from my phone. I could leave it on my desk and walk all the way down away and hit about 60, 70 feet. And then I get through this little building infrastructure tunnel where the bathrooms are, where there's lots of, in between the walls, there's lots of heavy plumbing and, metal and stuff like that. And the signal kicks out. And then as soon as if you walk back through that tunnel and it goes connected, and then you can tap the little player node and start listening again. And so these things are awesome. They're fantastic. They very rarely have any Bluetooth disruption. The only thing is they're Bluetooth 2.0, or not 2.0, 4.0, not 5.0. Now, okay, when these things were made, not when they were starting to be engineered, 5.0 just came out. Yeah. So through some technology Jaybird has, is you have more than one of these. Let's say you're on a plane. There is a thing where you can pair a pair of these together so that one person is listening. So you could have two people using Jaybird X3s listening to the very same thing, let's say on an airplane, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's so neat little things like that, and they're cool, and the sound is awesome on them. They're so good that I've played some music that has little whispering or little acoustic things in the background, and I've had to pause it because I think they're in the room with me or something.
Yeah.
They're that awesome, that amazing. I recommend them, and they are worth the cost of $130. If you don't really care about a dangling cord behind your neck or in front of your neck, I recommend it. I love them. So those are great. Those are wonderful. The driver is probably the largest of the Jaybird offerings, whatever the millimeter size. You can look it up pretty easily. And so Jaybird is always making things that are meant for sport reasons, for people who like to run, for people who are on the treadmill, for people who are just, whatever. And so the X3s qualify for that sport stuff. They are really not heavy. They lean on your ears a little bit. I think if I listened all day, after about 6 hours, I got to pop them out for a second or two for the pressure in my ears to kind of regain, and I can pop them back in, right? And so you shouldn't really be listening to headphones that long. If you do, that's a crazy, crazy situation going on. You should take a break. So the Jaybird runs are Jaybirds, I don't want to say answer. I think this was their answer to the Bragi Dash, right, from a couple of years ago. This is not their answer. No, they're not the answer to the AirPods. I think they integrate some things like the AirPods have. But there's a pair, and they are wireless, Bluetooth wireless headphones. So each of them make the mistake of independently being two Bluetooth connections, I guess, at the same time to your phone. So occasionally they can come out of sync. Occasionally.
Oh, wow.
So the sound of this is very close to the X3s. These things are fantastic. The range on them is about 60 feet away. Again, I experienced the same thing at work, about 60 near 70. They're in this little charging case pill. And it's got, when it's charging, as I showed you earlier, it's got 3 lights, one for the charging state of the case, and then each of the individual buds. And so you get this little blinky thing, looks like a little face on it, where it's just really the 3 lights in a row. So that's pretty neat. And then when you do it, you open it up. Okay, I missed the opportunity. Oh, see, now it's talking. And it's, it yells at you like they always do, which is, please connect to Bluetooth, and then gives you wherever your power's at. right? So the case does that. When you pop them out, when you pop them in, they'll literally go back into charging. When you pull them back out of the case, if you were playing something, it will reconnect to your phone or whatever your device, and it'll start playing again. It'll resume. So it does all those neat little things. But the only kind of complaints that I have is that the charge on these things are only 4 hours. That's really not that much of an issue because I will take a break.
Well, it'll be good enough for a run, right?
Yeah, totally good enough for a run. And I would pop these things out, put them back in their case, and put them back in my ears. So I'm not normally going for a stretch. But if I do go for a long stretch like that, the pressure on these things are kind of problematic, meaning when I start eating lunch or something, right, I'm moving my jaw around. And you don't realize how closely connected that is to your ear canal and whatnot. And so you having these things in while you're eating and stuff like that is very uncomfortable. Yeah. Can be uncomfortable based on your physical nature of your body. The other kind of find that I had about this is I think my issue with it being uncomfortable after a long period of time has more to do with the earbud tips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
are there silicone things or?
So yeah, these are silicone, and I don't like on my Jaybird X3s. I have the foam tips. So Jaybird, as a company, started to standardize their phone tips with a brand called Comfort. So I just bought a pair actually for some replacement for my X3s, and one's for this. That is the variety pack that includes the silicone and the foam. So I'm going to try some foam tips with this. It didn't come with any foam tips. It came with just silicone. So I think I might be able to mitigate that a little bit by that degree. But otherwise, they sound almost as good as the X3s. And like all truly wireless earbud things, they look silly in your ears.
Yeah, they look like Cybermen earpods.
I think these are like the Bragi Dash. They're fairly isolated into the earbud and this, the way the system is. The way the thing is, though, it fits snugly in your ear canal, and the Jaybirds have these little rubbery wing tips that you plug in that allow you to kind of snap over sort of the structure of your ear, the inside of your ear, so that they kind of latch in on you. And so the X3s have that cord and the weight of the cord to kind of tug them in place. These things didn't fall out. I didn't go around, shaking my head all day, but I never had any problems with them. But nonetheless, I mean, they're pretty good. I just think they're a little overpriced for the moment. If they were less of a cost, I think the use case for this is very limited, right? If you don't want the cord and you want something cool and stylish, these are fine. I tried to use these for a week or so. The sounds pretty good. Is it
worth the $180?
I have a hard time arguing for that. I bought it because I like Jaybird things. I have not bought all Jaybird things. I bought the X2s. The X2s were pretty good. They were a little heavy on my ears. The cord was a little longer than I like it to be. Then the X3s came out, and so the X2s were like around $170 when I bought them. So I took a risk and did it, and they were wonderful. But then the X3s came out, and oh boy, was that a fantastic improvement. And they were $130, which was like, okay, there's no argument here. And then this year, the runs come out, or the run, to defeat your joke. And, this is neat, but here's the thing. The X3s last on a charge for 8 hours. This thing only lasts on a charge for 4 hours. Now,
it's kind of funny because they say that there's a 12-hour battery life.
Yeah, I think it's because you can do 3 charges with the case. It's 4 hours on the buds.
So lame. That's like You should say 3 hours or 4 hours on battery in the headset, and then you have to charge it for another hour.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I dislike about the X3s. Is really my only complaint. Is there's this little cable that has a little micro USB cradle. and you can see it. No one else can see it, but you can see this little cradle with a little bunch of contacts on it, and that's it. And you put it in your pouch, and the pouch is okay. The X2s had this like rubber case that weren't easy to slide in your pocket, but they contained all your stuff pretty easily. And on the X2s, they actually had the micro USB contact. On the X3s, they just have this little dangling node on your cord that have the contact, so that you can kind of couple those two together, snap them in, and charge. And so my only concern in my head is, I might lose that one day. Now, I haven't to date, because I always have that conscious thought, and I always make sure I keep track of it. And
that's kind of the problem with all these wireless things, right? Because you're going to lose all that stuff. Yeah. And then you're going to have to buy a new one.
Yeah. So the pill case is an improvement over that, because you're not going to lose that thing. And all you really need to care about is you don't even carry theirs. All you need to care about is a micro USB cord, which are fairly they're everywhere, right? You can get them pretty easily. So this is not nearly as nice, but it's a better case for the holding your thing. So I don't know. I mean, the X3s did a full 8 hours. I've certainly have tested them to that point. When they get near 20%, I usually start charging them. So there's that. Well, and then there's the last thing that I just wanted to talk about, because I know I went on a longer tangent.
Yeah, just before the end, before you stop talking about the Jaybirds, you can get the runs, just as Alan has, at polymatic.link/CR.
Okay.
For the runs.
I guess R for run. So, I mean, they're not bad. Are they better than the AirPods? That I don't know. I've not heard the AirPods. I've heard good things, but also when you hear good things, you also hear that message very exclusively, more often than not, from people who love all things Apple. So
from the pod people.
You hear good things from people who have biased opinions, period. And so it's very hard to tell whether that opinion is accurate unless you own a pair yourself.
Well, everybody has biases when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Sure. And I'm sharing you what my experience was. I'm not sharing my experience because I love all Jaybirds. I just know that's a brand I'm more likely to lean at looking at what their offering is over Beats or Apple or Bose, right? Yeah. Even though I know those are good brands, I'm more likely, because I've had learned experience with this. So if you ask Alan, what's your favorite, I will say the Jaybird X3s. Yeah. And the price point on it is so reasonable. I'm sure it was supposed to come out to be more expensive, but Logitech bought that company. And
what company?
And then they bought Jaybird.
Okay.
So I think that's why the price dropped, because I think they wanted to offer Jaybird they haven't been campaigning or marketing them as a side brand to gamers or anything, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. And you know what? It's fine. The products haven't stopped. But the last little bit is they have the app that complements with your phone. And the Jaybird software from the X3s and whatever last year and up, I think the Freedoms as well. The Freedoms, the X3s, and obviously the Run, you can, when you're paired, it gives you battery status information, but it also allows you to set the EQ that you want, and it's programmed into those, so it doesn't need your phone for the EQ. It's not software EQ, it's EQ that is programmed into basically the DAC. The DSP inside the device itself. Okay. And it follows along with the device until you reprogram it or clear it out. And so there's a Jaybird app, and let me just get you, it just says Jaybird. They used to have a name for it. And so it just allows you to, go down, look at your notification and see what your battery time is. And if you know what the button to push on your Jaybird device, it does the same thing. So one last thought on the Run, that is where they have one button. There's no gesturing stuff. They have a button on each of the earpods, earbuds. See that? Earpods. And you tap it and it will put pressure back on your ear. So you kind of want to brace the side of it and tap it. So you either get your Google Assistant or your Siri, and or a combination of your play pause.
Okay.
Right? Your power on, power off. And so at that point, it's more comfortable just to reach for my phone, turn it on and off, right? Or pull out the bud and tap it off.
Yeah,
So.
I don't understand all these people with the wireless headsets. I really like the wired ones. Although there is a problem when you walk by something and it gets caught on it, but that's why you run your wire underneath your shirt or something.
Yeah. My recommendation for you is if you wanted to try, if you wanted to spend $130 US dollars, I would get the X3s and try them out and see if you still have that opinion, if you're willing to risk that. The X3s was more comfortable to just let them drape in front of my face or underneath my face. And on the X3s, the cord is so much lighter. I don't have to band it behind so it's super tight, because that was just it was ugly. It was stupid. I just lean them back behind me. And it's enough when people walk up to my desk at work and I'm wearing them, and even if they can see my side profile, they come looking at me and they start talking to me like they don't even realize that I'm wearing them.
Okay.
So if you're just turned away a little bit, most people won't recognize. So if you're face on, there's nothing really protruding. There's just a couple cords hanging from the side of your neck, either in front or behind your neck. And so they don't really look that odd.
Well, the giant headphones that I usually wear are a good indication, and I don't want to be disturbed. So
yeah. I don't wear them that often because I wear them as an alternative sometimes. I find there's actually a little bit more movement. It's a little lighter. The quality on them are pretty good. So if I need to take a call, I can pause and I can take the call, and I do, I have the conversation, and then when they hang up, it starts resuming, and that's less of experience on wired headsets for me. So,
okay.
Okay, so that was enough rant.
Yep.
I didn't give a Polymatic link. You gave one for the runs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I got one more. This is just something, this will go to a YouTube video. I thought this was relevant more than out of the fun stuff. There's a video I saw just last night, something called Rescam. There's a group in New Zealand who's come up with basically an email bot that you can forward your mail to when you get spams or whatever it is. And just like when I talked about with Jolly Roger, remember that, where I was talking about the telephone company that is set out there to not let you get those telemarketer calls, and they busy them up. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a company or organization. If you just send your Polymatic.link/cn, if you just forward the spammy mails that you get to me at rescam.org, the email bot will go into action and then start interacting with them. And set up and just busy them up. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with Polymatic.link/cn. I forwarded a couple this morning to it just out of curiosity.
Can you actually see what happens?
They immediately sent back a couple emails from those first two saying, hey, thanks for, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a page of stuff if you don't want to hear from us anymore, just click this unsubscribe. And so that's what I did. Okay. So I don't know that it echoes back the conversation, but I don't know. If I got a lot of these during my week, why would I want to see the kind of, I would want them to be annoyed.
That could be a very fun one, isn't it, right?
Yeah. So I think that was a worthy topic point for a moment. So I just now have to do that for all my email addresses.
I've got another couple of things. I bought a new water bottle, a Camelback called Shoot. That's usually used for runners, not runners, but people go hiking. Just fill it with ice and then lots of water. It's like a liter of water in it. So
okay.
Yeah. I've been using water bottles for a long time during the day, instead of filling a cup with water and just walking to and from your desk. Just get just a liter of water and drink it during the day.
I I drink a lot of water during my day, but I do the bad thing. I buy them buy certain specific brands, so it comes in a liter or 1.5 liter case.
Do you refill them?
You can to a certain point, but there is some leading, like chemical leading stuff. You really can't use the kind of thing you get off a store shelf that isn't intended to be a water bottle forever, because chemicals do bleed out of them.
Yeah, I get that.
And I used to do that, and then eventually I realized, like, you use one of those water bottles you always use, and you go, oh, something doesn't feel right about this. And then you go, oh. And then you go to completely, perfectly new seal bottle and go, oh, wow, it's a night and day difference. Even if you pour the contents of one into the other, you can. I was able to start telling. So I don't carry a common water bottle.
Geared towards lots of use.
Right, yeah.
I like it. I used to have a bottle. I got a few bottles from Google I/O, so I've been using those. But one of them is, I think it's corroding on the inside, so it's making crackle and pop noises on the inside when I fill it with water. So there's some reaction going on there. For us here in the Netherlands, we can drink the tap water, so it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't. You can't light it on fire. It's not full of chlorine. It's not full of lead. It's not full of There's probably some microplastic in there, but you can probably filter that off. We have a water filter at work. We fill up with water. So
yeah.
I only got it this Wednesday. I'm gonna be trying it out at the office on Monday. So
cool.
We'll hear back from that.
Yeah, I got a pretty nifty water bottle from the department I was working at. They were giving away water bottles to their volunteers. And so we had a bunch that were branded for the year. So as the staff for the department, we were allowed to at least take a water bottle. So I have, it's pretty nifty, but I've never really used it, I usually have an active
saves on a lot of plastic and also saves a lot on a lot
of money. I'm the one who's doing the bad thing. I'm encouraging the water companies to do this thing. But, there's no other way for them to get it to me anyways.
And the water here is fine. I wouldn't do this in like San Francisco or something.
Right.
I totally understand why.
We tried that. We tried that.
There's like a hobo somewhere up the street lying in some water pipe, dying, spreading his germs.
It wasn't even that. Their tap water was okay. So
what?
Their tap water was okay.
Where?
When we were there, hotel tap water was not great.
All the chlorine in the water. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was okay. So I think we beat our favorite things.
There was a hotel that was the one on 4th, right next to the first year, and then we went to the other hotel the second year.
The Palomar or something. Palomar? Is that what it was?
Palomar, yeah. That was the first year, and then the second year we went to the half. It was almost like one of those shelters. That's what it looked like. Right.
It was
really bad.
Clearly
I didn't drink the water there. It was too bad.
It was clearly built in the 1940s or 20s or something, when like fundamental San Francisco was developing. In the Industrial Revolution time. And it was one of those where the hotel was like big, tall ceiling, concrete box with a really tiny bathroom. And then there was that common area of like public bathrooms.
But
remember that place?
Yeah.
It was pretty tiny.
The hotels, I think they switched over to more like water towers on top of the roofs. Because they switched over and dechlorinate the water and make it better without so you can actually drink it. That's important.
The one for the first year was a much nicer hotel room.
Yeah,
right. It was built to be a more modern hotel.
Yeah, and it had a tiger print bathrobe in the closet.
Whatever it was. I remember one year I worked. So I for work they had sent me to New York for a week, and so it was in Manhattan. I was not far from B&H Video. I didn't realize it until I got home, which then I was really mad about, because I could have spent my week walking over. It was like 3 blocks away to B&H Video. But anyhow, and I chose a hotel. I didn't choose the Marriott. I thought, oh, all right, I'll choose this hotel. It looks like it must be has some experience. And it was a hotel that was created, I think it was called the Pennsylvania Hotel, that was created back in the days where they were doing the railroad. So it was built by the railroad. And again, it was just like I walked the halls of this place, and it made me feel like I was on the Titanic. Not the extravagant version of the Titanic. It just was like a certain aesthetic, and it was a big, like 12-foot ceiling concrete box, kind of like that place in San Francisco we were just talking about. Yeah. So I realized, oh boy, this was not a great choice. I should have chose the Marriott across the way.
Yeah.
That would have been a better place.
Well, there was last time I went to Google, I think it was 2 years ago. I went to a hotel near there's a tunnel there near the Union Square.
Okay.
It was like one of the cheaper hotels, but it was still good. I liked it. So the price doesn't always tell you what kind of hotel it is.
Right. Yeah.
But, the reception usually is pretty bad. Inside hotels with
in dense places like San Francisco, of course, that first year hotel had like a nothing lobby, but the hotels were good, and then the rooms are good, and then that other place had like the nice lobby, but the hotel the rooms are crap.
There was one hotel where I had my hotel room had a window, but the window is in an alleyway where I could open up the window and knock on the other side on the window over there.
Yeah.
So, that was a pretty crappy hotel. I think it was even more expensive than Palomar.
Yeah, because like I said, that was a pretty nice place.
Yep.
But
it isn't called Palomar anymore, by the way. Anyway, okay. I've got one other thing. If you heard about Cody, right? Cody Don, the Cody's Lab.
Oh yeah.
So he got 2 strikes on YouTube.
Yeah, I heard about
and
that.
And his YouTube upload possibility was closed down. And now there's something happening there on YouTube right now. It also kind of leads into the first fun things thing. There's lots of YouTubers getting strikes for community guideline things. I don't know why. They're messing with the algorithm, and it's messing things up. They should just, really have a look at it.
The algorithm is basically shifted to self-learning, and so everyone is, even like Casey Neistat didn't do anything, and he's getting striked and demonetized for stuff on a charity video. And like there doesn't seem to be a human equation anymore in these things. There's a human equation for when somebody specifically complains.
Well, right? And if you complain, you're still going to get hit by a robot on the second try.
Sure.
Because they don't want to have humans there. They say, "Oh, it's the algorithm. Oh, sorry, we didn't know. We fixed it.
Right.
Now it's good again." But then again, if you're a nobody that nobody cares about, you can't make a channel because your stuff will get flagged, and then
And then the algorithm doesn't support you even in the smallest way. You have to have some kind of success already before you can be successful.
Yeah. So what you basically want is I want a human button, and just put a price tag on that. Let people, pay a buck or two to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And so it can't be abused.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of sad, and I think it's gonna come to a point where they're gonna have to figure out something.
They're leaving. They're bailing.
Yeah. I wish there was. I mean, because YouTube has really established itself to be a good place, but again, they've removed most of the human equation, and that's the sad part.
Well, Glove and Boots is stopping for a while because they can't.
Right.
They can't make any money off this. I mean, come on. They're ruining their platform. And yes, this is going up on YouTube. So I wonder how many people are gonna flag this. But I really think they should have a good hard look at what they're doing. They basically ruin their own platform.
there were a lot.
The
of
only
people...
thing that's going to show up from now on is unboxing videos of really inane stuff like I have a new coffee filter, that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's the only thing that's going to show up on YouTube from now on.
There's a lot of I think it's, and so I think Corridor Digital explained this the best, and I understood this, and I never really slap someone in the face and say, you're wrong, stop shouting, repeating, echoing crap you don't understand, you dumb person, right? Here's what happens. If you are somebody who comes in, you're going to create content, and you have a bunch of different mechanisms for advertising. If you're a big network and that can be proved and verified, like you're a big television network in your country, what you can do is you can turn monetizing on, but with your ad buying program.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, that means that you can sell whatever it is that you want because you have the direct rapport with your customers, right? And so that's when everyone's complaining about like hurricanes and stuff here and blah blah blah, and why are these big TV networks advertising terrible things on television, where these YouTubers who are using the YouTube advertisement program to make money are getting demonetized for their charity thing, right? And so the reason is because YouTube has its own advertising program, and when you say monetize, you immediately just make that choice, not caring or knowing that you have a couple options. Right. Yeah. So people who have said, no, I'm not going to turn on monetization. I am going to go and build a rapport with customers and have sponsorship.
Yeah. But the sponsorship part is going to...
Then that's outside of a monetization thing, so you can't be demonetized when you're not monetized. Yeah, and then the advertisement platform doesn't kick in.
But the value of the YouTube videos with just YouTube monetization versus the ones that have sponsorship is, with the sponsorship, you have a basic bias for, let's say, your video is sponsored by Samsung, and you're presenting, let's say, you're going to CES.
Yeah.
Right? Your videos are sponsored by Samsung. You go by the Samsung booth, you're going to talk about Samsung in a positive way. You can't trust anybody that does that, because they'll just sell you out and say, "Oh, you have to get this new Samsung thing."
You can't trust the opinion,
right? And so
what do you do
when you have the YouTube videos with the YouTube monetization? You take that part out, where you just have the fun stuff that you want to see. Now, YouTube Red is a good idea, but they're not pushing it through. They're not putting it in other countries.
The only problem is you get some people, like I said, who have their bias for Android or Samsung or LG or Apple products, and you get to know that the person has the bias instead of being pushed for a brand that's the bias.
It's okay to have a bias.
So what you do is you get sponsorships that don't matter to the equation of your content, like Stamps.com, Squarespace, unless you're into like development building stuff, and also the one
we're not sponsored by these guys, by the way.
Right.
Although if you're interested, just give me a call.
One of the benefits, though, I think, is forcing Instagram people and everyone get in trouble and doing like hashtag ad, right? Yeah. Up front, saying, "Hey, look, this is an ad. Let me be transparent," right? Definitely, I will tell you, the nice ads of the world are passionate despite whether they have a entangled relationship, right? So I mean, that's good. I trust him. I trust him not to be biased.
He is biased because he says he's biased. I really like their phones. I really like their stuff. Right?
Yeah,
with the, for
he's
example,
transparent about it.
And the same. You see the same thing with people like Marquez, apparently, and Linus Tech Tips.
But
they do sponsorship, but it's like really obvious it's the sponsorship.
Yeah. They do sponsorship videos that are focused about the sponsor. And for Linus Tech Tips, they also will dig Linus and group will say negative things about their brand, and they're very, I think from what I understand, they're pretty transparent about that to the sponsor, saying, hey, but here's the thing, they have numbers, they have leverage, they have something to show where they can be gutsy about that, where like you or me cannot, right? Even if we have large numbers, we don't have as large numbers. We can't build an honest rapport.
But YouTube is not blocking you. The thing is, they're taking away monetization, which is kind of like a punishment. But they're not taking away your viewership. You can still post the videos. But now they are also.
Well, the algorithm is integrated into that, so that if you, they will take away your monetization, not your viewership. But if you are getting flagged for something,
well, they're still going to take you away from other stuff. They're going to take you away from people's subscription boxes, and that's something that's been popping up a lot lately. Yeah. People are just not seeing subscription posts, right? And the same thing is happening all over the place. You see Twitter with like the best first and stuff like that. Same thing on Tumblr. It's happening. Lots of artists are like crying, fire, fire, fire. Everything is on fire. Nobody is seeing my stuff anymore. Only because, there's a booby here and there. But
the discovery problem has been a problem for a long while, which is also part of like wanting to share links or do things like that.
Yeah, but I don't understand. I don't understand why they're fixing something that doesn't need fixing. If you want to follow somebody, you want to see all their posts.
Right.
Instead of just, the ones that the algorithm likes you to see. Right? What is next? Are you going to define what I like? I mean, come on.
Well, that's what they're doing, and they're cultivating and promoting personal interests. Like Vivo shows up more often than you realize because, YouTube has its own personal interests on its own network to promote those things. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is a discovery problem. Facebook does the same thing, right? The high centric areas of social activity or search activity, that's why. Look, when you get down to it, as a whole, even though Google's got money to do other things, that's why they formed Alphabet. Ultimately, the Google search engine and YouTube, they're an advertisement engine agency. Yeah. That's where they make their real bread and butter. Not having everyone. They have basically owned the attention game for you, and then they can promote things into that. And if your attention is mostly there, it's not other places, and which gives them value and to the customer, right? So the same thing goes with like Facebook, right? Yeah. Certain people spend all their time there and go off out of the walled garden every once in a while, but most of the time they spend
and end up with
all their activity into a bubble, and they're stuck in the bubble, and then that's it. So, it's all about the attention game no matter where you are, right? Some people are on Instagram because they look at pretty things. And so that's what they do all day. And that's why they get to make money off the advertisement. I wish they didn't do it. I wish all things were free, but that's not the reality of the world. Yeah. If you want to go work for Instagram, you have to get paid to work there so that you can survive. And I mean, that's what it comes down to. It. Whether they're overpaying you or not is a totally different thing. That's between you and the company and you and where you put your cash. But that's the way the world works, right?
Well, so it doesn't have to work that way, but hey. Anyway.
Yeah, sure. we all can't be Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want him in charge of content, but yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing things for not greedy purpose, but for functional, doing the right thing value, right? Yeah. That's why he's doing stuff. He's doing stuff that is going to, in turn, make all the arguments and all the fight more relevant, right? It'll validate. But it's clear his direction, his interests are to do things because everyone else has been lazy and greedy and selfish. And his endeavors are less selfish than they are greedy. So, and most people don't operate that way.
So we went from YouTube blocking somebody to Elon Musk. Although Although Cody,
you led me there. You went there. I didn't do it.
Anyway,
this is not on me.
Speaking of bad things, actually the fun stuff, but there is a noise canceling thing that was supposed to be, it's like this Indiegogo campaign where they had a device and then was supposed to block noise from other people. It doesn't work. Spoiler alert. Electro Boom tested it, Polymatic link/CB, and then he posted another video where he was really mad at YouTube about demonetizing his video for that because it was apparently not advertiser friendly.
Gaia, there's the connection.
What the hell?
Make when you were...
Anyway, Polymatic link/CB for that.
Okay. I got a bunch of short films. I'm only going to share, I think, only 2. But these seem to have a theme, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. This is classic for me. Oh, no, this is not. The next one's classic. But anyhow, this is just a short film. I thought it was funny. It's a little not safe for work. Polymatic.link/CG. If you wear headphones, then it's safe for work. But if you're not, Polymatic.link/CG, it's the title is I'm giving you is just I'm you.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Did you like it? Did you watch it?
I don't know.
It's kind of funny in a rude way.
Yep.
But Polymatic.link/CG.
Okay, CGP Grey, you've heard about him. He made questionable choices. Polymatic link/CC. It's about the Animoji feature on the iPhone.
Yeah, I saw that video, and I'm like, what?
Just stay to the very end.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, got it. All right, so I have another one here. This is a guy that I discovered. This is on the topic of food. This guy's interesting, but I thought everyone could bond on this topic here. Homemade ramen. Polymatic.link/CF.
Seems like a lot of work.
It does, but
chuckle.
Watching this guy is interesting in general.
He has a very French accent.
He is, because he's French. So that was Polymatic.link/CF. In general, I think, if you like his ramen series, his addiction to ramen series, that's one thing. But he does go through sort of the motions of explaining different flours and how he got different results. And so I think that's what's interesting about it, aside from realizing that ramen isn't just this, it is this cheap, 50-cent little packet of something that isn't very healthy for you, but real ramen at a real restaurant made, the homemade way is always going to be a better product and much healthier for you, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Blizzard had a conference last week, or actually a con, and they showed a new backstory for Reinhardt, one of the Overwatch characters. It's actually quite nice to watch. Polymatic link/CD. They've been really getting better at doing all the animations. Yeah,
I don't play Overwatch at all, but I thought this is reasonably self-contained. I think this is enjoyable on its own, despite whether you play the game or know anything about it.
Huh. I do play Overwatch from time to time. I'm not really good at it. Well, depends. I usually play Mercy, so I usually go and do healing. So that's I'm not one to play Reinhardt because it's too much work. Because
I have to get like the OGN site sort of just done to a done state where I can release it and then start doing all the internal things that are important for like administration. I need to decentralize my impulse to want to game. And so I naturally kind of came close to that. And then that was the time where I was like, oh, I gotta move the site, do stuff. So I only moonbase like maybe a half hour every once in a while, maybe every couple weeks, maybe at best. So
anyway, Polymatic link/CD for the Overwatch backstory for Reinhardt.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another short film. It is not safe for work. Again, mainly if you wear headphones, it's safe for work. There's nothing visual that's bad about it. Polymatic.link, I'm calling it 1 minute. It is not 1 minute long, but I'm calling 1 minute. Did you watch this?
Yes, I did. I think I already saw it before.
I probably shared it with you a long
to
time ago because this was on the thing when I used to share videos to like a larger crowd. This was a filler, actually, but I couldn't use this one because it's got cursing in it.
Oh.
So and some slight adult topics in it. So yeah, so I know it's a favorite, but I forgot about it.
Polymatic.media/ch.
Yeah, that was CH. Yep.
And this one is just a random thing because I saw it again this week. Pogo is like he remixes some stuff. I don't like his politics and stuff because I read some stuff about him that was not that good, but he did a really good remix of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Say what again? Polymatic.media/CE.
Say
what again?
He does a lot of good stuff. My only problem is he has, not in this one though, but most of his videos all have a very similar sound, and then it's just like him putting into the model of. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work in creating the music, and there's a tremendous work of synchronizing and upload the edit and getting all those two things together. There's a talent and a skill in there. My favorite by him was the one he did it to the movie Up.
Yeah.
That one is really good.
One,
yeah. Okay, so last one, because we should shut up by now.
There's some more coming later.
Polymatic.leg says Biomimicry. This was a Vox video that came up recently where they were talking about studying nature and how that's employed in technology.
Yeah.
And the irony is I at some point in my life wanted to do 3D animation, though I'm not really much of an animator or that artistic. So clearly it was not going to be a good choice. But again, maybe I could have gone to school for that and learned to be good at it. But because that's not a natural skill that I had, it's something I didn't do. But one of the things is I used to, when I was a kid, I was really interested in a lot of this stuff, and I learned a lot of the companies that were sort of building 3D modeling software and doing the things for movies, the things they would do is study nature to create a behavioral model for birds so that they could sort of automate the generation of that in the backgrounds of stuff. And so that always stuck with me. So every time I do something, I study the workflow, I study the behavior, I study, how should this get done? I think through all the chess moves. And so it's funny because that's sort of at the root of everything I think about design. I don't just design to get it. Well, I think if I put A and B together, I get D. Like, I think about like all the stuff that goes into making the final product. And so biomimicry is very much like, at least to the point of that they're making here, is sort of a kind of a callback to that, of that thought that just reinforces the very thing that I do. It seems to be a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so Polymatic.ch for
CK.
the biomimicry video. Okay, so you still have some music.
I do. Sorry. You didn't have anything for books this week?
No. I think next week going to have some stuff about books because the new book for The Expanse is going to come out soon.
Or next show.
Oh yeah, next not next week. No.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, to the point, I just had a couple that were recent finds. I'm not hating them. There's not a lot to consume just yet, but there were two. They both happen to start with A. There was no association there. This one called Ash, Girl Who Cried Wolf. I'm giving you the SoundCloud page, polymatic.link/CL, as in listen. I think listen is good.
Okay.
And then Aura, but spelled as AU/RA. And she had a song called Outsiders that's most recent, polymatic.link/CM. Probably not for you, John. I'd be surprised if you were interested in them. They're more pop music.
Oh, I didn't see the music, so I didn't listen to them yet. So.
Yeah. They're more like in the area like Scott, SKOTT that I recommended.
Or the that Aura is that like the gold and radium, or is that a reference to that? Or?
I don't know. I don't know. Her name is Laura.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
She's a girl. Her name's Laura. She goes by Aura.
Okay.
I don't know I don't know if she's been around that long, maybe just this year. I don't really know. I know Ash didn't, like, I think I saw the most earliest. I only found like a couple songs. Same thing with Aura. I didn't find much. I grabbed what I found. So, maybe that's somebody of note. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I didn't mind the music that I heard recently.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done for today.
We got to be done.
We got to be done.
It's 90 minutes, man.
Where can they find you, Alan?
You can find me on Twitter, CHAESS.
You can also find me on Twitter at WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our Twitter is @ThePolymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media. I hope you tune in next time and send us some feedback, please. Please. Bye-bye.
The music in this episode was by Say Uns. It was licensed under Creative Commons Attribution and found on the Free Music Archive. You can find these tracks at shorter.com/PRK.